Welcome to Mind, Body and Spirit.
Zafar, it's been a long time, so it's good to see you again.
Brand new series where we'll be exploring a variety of issues relating to our health.
So there's a lot of different diets out there, and there's a lot of different...
A couple of simple and effective exercises that we can use on a daily basis. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mind, Body and Spirit. In today's show, we're going to be discussing drugs. A bit of a definition. What is drugs? What do we mean by when we say that? A drug is any substance that causes a change in an organism's physiology or psychology. So put that in simple terms. Basically, it means when you consume a drug or a substance, it changes you mentally in some way or physically. Drugs can be used both from a medicinal or recreational perspective. From a recreational perspective, there's an ever-increasing pressure on people from all walks of life, professionals, students, young people, old people. It's estimated that 270 million people across the globe have misused psychoactive drugs, and 35 million people are estimated to have some kind of drug disorder. From a medical perspective, there are a lot of advantages to taking drugs, but this is only the case when prescribed by a medical professional. There are a number of dangers involved in recreational drugs, and we'll be exploring those over the course of this show. In our first segment, we're going to be talking to an expert who's going to walk us through a number of the concerns and dangers and benefits indeed for the use of drugs. Welcome to the next segment. With myself, I've got my good friend here, Dr. Sumit Kumar Dutta. He's a consultant in emergency medicine and he's been practicing for 18 years. Welcome to the show, Sumit.
Thank you for having me, Zan. I'm honoured to be here.
Thank you. So talk to me about drugs then. How can we define what drugs are?
Okay, Zan. So I think a good way to think about a drug is any chemical substance that we enter into our own bodies, either through ingestion, inhalation, whatever it might be, that has a physiological, that's a physical effect, or a psychological or mental effect. I think that's a good way to look at drugs in general.
Right, okay. Okay, and so let's talk about the medicinal purpose. You touched on that then. How can drugs be used from a medicinal perspective?
Absolutely. So every medicine is a drug because it has a physical or mental impact upon a person. And so any medication that your doctor will prescribe or you get down a pharmacy, these are all drugs. And as drugs, they have two aspects to them. They have a positive, beneficial aspect, a healing aspect, and also a potentially negative, harmful, detrimental aspect. So every medicine is a poison, essentially, potentially a poison, depending on how it's used or misused and the circumstances involved.
Okay. And then you've got people that use drugs from a recreational perspective as well. So I know, for example, you get paracetamol, you get codeine. These things are prescribed from a doctor, but you might have some people from a personal perspective that are taking cannabis or they're taking cocaine. So talk to me about the recreational perspective.
So it's good to think about drugs in certain ways. There are drugs which are, as you correctly said, used for medicinal purposes, and also drugs which are used for recreational purposes. And actually, if we look at the origins of that, human beings have been around for a long time. For thousands of years, they've explored their environment, trying out different substances in their natural world, plants, berries, tree barks, etc., and realizing which ones have a kind of a psychological impact that they like or enjoy, and they've been incorporating them into their own kind of religious or ritual practices for their own. You find this in the world today with different tribal societies, especially. Medicines have evolved that way as well because they realize which plants are curative for certain conditions and which aren't. So this is how these things developed in the first place. And with recreational drugs, again, the same with medicines, they have two aspects to them. They have the potentially positive healing side and the negative detrimental side. So if we were to break that down into particular drugs, for example, if we can go into examples here. So you mentioned codeine. So codeine is an opioid medication. So it comes from the opium poppy, and it comes from the same family as tramadol, as morphine, and numerous other drugs. We use them every single day in healthcare for pain control. They're superb painkillers. And they can be used positively in that manner. Yet, many people across the world, especially in America at the moment, they have a big opioid crisis because doctors are prescribing these strong painkillers to people who may or may not really need them, who then develop dependence and addiction after that, and then can't go without those drugs without being severe distress and physical discomfort.
Dr. Sumit, you talked about recreational drugs. Are all recreational drugs bad?
Okay, good question. I do not think any object is intrinsically good or bad. It all depends on the use or misuse of that thing. I'll give an example outside of medications and drugs. A knife. A knife can be used to chop vegetables, chop meat, prepare a meal for your family in a good way. It can also be used to stab somebody or murder somebody in a bad way. It all depends on the person utilizing the knife. So in the same way, recreational drugs used appropriately for the right reasons for medicinal purposes, as prescribed by a doctor, can be beneficial. But most often people use it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And therefore it has a long-term harmful and detrimental effect.
Okay. It's interesting we talk about drugs and, people normally throw the normal categories around like cocaine, you've got crack, you've got heroin, you've got cannabis, LSD, you've got ecstasy, all these different types of drugs that everyone's heard of. But would you classify something like tobacco and alcohol as a drug as well?
Very much so, I would.
Okay.
And it's interesting because we've considered up to this point those drugs which are illegal, if you want to call it that, be it heroin, cocaine, LSD. These things are illegal in the UK. Yeah. Yet tobacco and alcohol are legal. So does that make them any less dangerous? Does it make them any better than the illegal drugs? In my opinion, no.
Right.
Let's talk about alcohol for a minute. So alcohol, very limited health benefits. There's something called a French paradox, which is a glass of red wine a day supposedly it reduces your chance of heart disease. But apart from that, there's not really any health benefits to alcohol. Yeah. And again, if you were to ask me the question, what percentage of people who enjoy drinking are doing it for those health benefits to reduce their heart disease in 10 years' time? No one.
And the societal impact as a result.
Absolutely. So if you think about the negative impacts upon alcohol on a human being, not only liver disease, not only the social impacts such as crime, violence, assaults, domestic violence, breakup of family. There's so many things that result from that, which are negative, not only for the individual, the family unit, but also great society at large.
Yeah.
Tobacco, another one. Not many health benefits of tobacco.
Yeah.
Maybe wakes an individual up a little bit more, makes him a bit more chatty, but apart from that, no health benefits. But cigarettes, devastating for a person's health, not only lung disease, cancers of all kinds, heart disease, you name it. But these things are legal nevertheless. So the fact that they are legal does not make them any less dangerous for an individual, because I consider these things some of the most dangerous for an individual, and more dangerous because they're so widespread, because they're legal.
Okay, so to wrap up and summarize, how could you kind of wrap this up from a perspective?
I think a good way to look at these things is, and I think young people out there should probably pay attention to this especially, is drugs, they are, in the very short term, they may make you feel uplifted and calm and peaceful and high, if you want to call it that. Yeah. But that's the short-term effects. The long term is a very rocky road, a very slippery slope downhill to suffering and pain and agony. And in life, in my experience at least, it seems to be that those things which are ultimately harmful taste sweet at the beginning, whereas those things which are ultimately beneficial are hard at the beginning and painful at the beginning, and they get better as things go by. So I think with drugs, we have to think about the long term here. Yeah. And none of us want to create a situation where we need something in order to just feel like a human being. Yeah. Because then it's going to be a thirst that can never really be quenched after that.
Yeah. I couldn't summarize it in a better way. So Dr. Sumit, it's been fascinating talking to you about this topic. I've learned so much myself, and I'm sure our viewers have learned a huge amount as well. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Zan, for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure for me.
So now we go to the next segment where we've got Abdul Rauf, who's going to be walking us through some key simple exercises. Welcome to the next segment. With myself today, you've got Abdul Rauf, who is a fitness freak, and he's going to be walking us through a few excellent workouts that we can do, something called HIIT training as well. So welcome to the show, Abdul Rauf.
Thank you very much. So I think the key to working out at home is decide what type of workout you're going to do. I think for the most of us, being at home, time is always an issue, and we want to make sure that we have an effective workout, we're not dedicate too much time to it. So I find for myself, and a lot of people that I know, we use something called HIIT, or a variation of HIIT that is a sort of a circuit that you can make at home, and you kind of use the exercises that you have as a tool, different components, and there's a way that you structure that workout.
And what does HIIT stand for someone?
So HIIT itself stands for high intensity interval training. Right, okay. So the goal of it is to be raising your heart rate for a specific amount of time, training at high intensity for a shorter amount of time, and then you're basically setting your heart rate at a fat burning level.
Right, okay. And how long does a HIIT workout last for?
So a HIIT
typically?
workout can last between 15 to 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be exceptionally long. Obviously, it depends on everyone's own fitness levels, but that's the beauty of it, because you can structure a workout that suits you and that won't tire you out if you have other things to do that day or the next day. The idea is to keep you active and keep you moving while still being able to go about your day.
So just walk me through how it actually works, what you can
Yeah,
do, what
sure.
kind of workouts you can do.
So there's three main components of a HIIT or a circuit workout at home. Now, the first of it, one of the most important, is a dynamic warm-up.
Right.
So you want to make sure that all the exercise you're doing, you don't have an injury, all your muscles are warm. We never want to start exercising or doing any big movements, active range of motions when we're cold. So your dynamic warm-up will be the key. So a dynamic warm-up, you can typically start from the top or from the bottom, but you want to walk through your whole body.
Right.
You don't want to do any static stretches. So that might be just starting with some rotating of the ankles, for example, if you're starting with the hammies or the calf, you can reach down for your tiptoes, sort of bop. You don't want to do anything that's too uncomfortable because your muscle isn't warm yet. So we don't want to take it through a range of motion that's not natural just yet.
So do you not hold the stretch then?
You wouldn't hold it.
So you don't hold the stretch, so you don't touch your toes and just hold it?
No, what I'd recommend is, for example, if you are going to touch your toes to stretch your hamstrings out, go as far as you can without it hurting.
Yeah.
Sitting, obviously, almost small bounces just
Right.
in that position. If you can take it a little bit further, take it a little bit further.
Right.
But we're not trying to exert the muscle yet. So in that same way, we'd go up, and we could do something for the hips. Then for the core, you'd move up to the arms. And ideally, all of our workouts are going to target our whole body. So you want to ensure that all of your muscles are warm.
Right, okay. So warm-up's done. So what's
Yep.
the next phase of the
So
warm-up?
now we come to the actual circuit. Now, for myself, I like to have 3 to 4 exercises in a circuit, and I like to make sure that across those 3 to 4 exercises that I target most of the muscles in my body. So typically how I would structure it is the first exercise would be to get the heart rate pumping. So for example, you could do a star jump or some high knees. I'm sure everyone knows how to do a star jump. We're gonna obviously get the heart rate pumping.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
bring the knees up. So I'd recommend doing that for 30 seconds to a minute, okay? That's the first exercise. Then across exercises number 2 and number 3, for myself personally, I'd recommend this. You could split the upper and lower body. You could do something for your legs and something for your upper body. So for a second exercise, I might go in for some squats or squat jumps. So just body weight squats. All you're going to do is back straight, chest out, and we're going to go as low as we physically can without hurting ourselves, keeping our back straight.
Yeah.
And then we're going to drive upwards. And it's important to keep good form. So when I say drive upwards, from when you've come, ideally, if you can hit 90 degrees, that's great. But if you can't, anything that's comfortable, and we're gonna push up using our quads and our glutes, okay? So then again, this is all however many is comfortable for you. So I might set for myself that in my circuit, my second exercises of squats, I'm gonna set for 10 reps because that's comfortable for me. So I would do my 10 reps of squats. Now my third exercise, I'm gonna use to target my upper body. So I would go for typically a press up because it works arms, biceps, triceps, back, and a little bit of chest as well. And it's a very handy exercise. So I'd go for maybe 10 reps of a press ups. Now the key to remember of doing an exercise like a press up is that you want to do it with good form. If you need to research on YouTube, have a look, because it's very easy to get these exercises wrong if we don't know what we're doing or we don't have any background training and do an injury. So for example, I see a lot of people, I'm going to demonstrate
Yeah,
for you.
please, yeah, that'd be great.
When they do a press up, they typically have their arms out quite wide,
Right.
which is quite harmful for the shoulder and the rotator cuff.
Yeah.
So if you were to do those for 10 reps and you come out, you'd feel quite sore. All you got to do is tuck your elbows a little bit in, 45 degrees,
Yep.
and come down and straight up. If that is a little bit too difficult, you could just drop your knees and follow the correct form.
Right, okay.
But like I said, it is important that all the exercises that we do help us, and we don't want to cause any injuries.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be the third exercise.
Right.
And then the final exercise, what I like to do, the fourth one, is make it a little bit more difficult and keep the heart rate pumping. I typically go for a burpee.
Oh,
So
difficult. Yeah.
pretty difficult. Again,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter about the number, whatever is easy for you. So you might go for 5 or you might go for 10.
Yeah, yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know what a burpee is, it's going down into the press up position and then back up with a little jump, okay? So you might do 5 to 10. And that is now 4 exercises of a circuit that targets from top to bottom.
Yeah, yeah.
And in my case, I would do those 4 exercises. I would have 1 minute to 2 minutes rest, whatever is comfortable for you, and then back in and do it 3 times in total.
Right, okay, so it's quite nice and easy. You
Nice
know
and
exactly
easy.
what you're doing.
Exactly.
So just to recap, you say you did the full dynamic stretches and the
Yeah.
workout, the warm-up, sorry. And then from there you went into, and the warm-up was star jumps, knee raises.
That's the first circuit,
That's the
sorry.
first
Yeah,
circuit,
that's
sorry,
the first
right.
circuit, that's all right. The actual the dynamic warm up is
Oh, so you
more
did that
so
already, yeah,
reaching for but the actual circuit itself, like I said, heart rate pumping in the first exercise, so star jumps, high knees, then target the lower body, so the legs, we have the squats.
Yeah.
Then the third exercise, we have the press up, target the upper body, and then finally we have the burpees to really finish it off.
And then you rotate around
Exactly.
2-3 times as long as you can do it.
Exactly that.
Perfect. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
total sense. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff, if you wanted more guidance, I'm sure you could go on YouTube. There's loads of different things. I think the key to remember is you don't have to have a lot. You don't have to do every exercises. You choose the exercises like you would choose the tool out of your toolbox to get the job done.
Yeah.
So if you're focusing on a certain body part, 1 to 2 exercises is enough and done with the correct intensity.
Perfect. Okay, that makes absolute sense. So I think we've
Glad
got
it helps.
a few wonderful workouts, a few great things we can do with Athletic workouts at home. So thank you so much for that, Abdul
No
Rauf.
problem at all.
I look forward to trying that myself and being very aching and sore tomorrow. So
Great.
thank you so much for that, and we'll see you guys in the next section.
All right, now this time I'm gonna make a chicken breast roulade. As I said, you can take with a skin or you can take it without skin. I'm using it without skin. So here is the technique. Now you take a sharp knife in the middle of the breast. You cut not through, you push a little bit down. We're not gonna cut all the way, just a butterfly, just like that. You see, that's it. So we're done with that. Now we have to flatten this one. So you take the plastic up and down, like when you do the flattening, so it doesn't hurt, doesn't harm the meat. You see now it's nice and clean. Here we go. And now, as I said, don't be scared to use the black pepper, you know, like this, and salt. Only salt and pepper. I think it's more than enough, the things. Now, you know, because I'm going to make a roulade, you will understand why I'm saying this one. I have to think of when I cut how it's going to look like inside. You know, when you cut the roulade, so you should plan already how it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this spinach leaf, which I have boiled before in cold water, hot water, and put it in cold water straight away. So I'm going to put here. Don't have to be uniformed. It's just as good as possible you can do. Okay, now it's done. And now what I do, I take the chicken meat or the boiled chicken meat, cold meat, or the turkey. I put one layer with that, like this. And then the mozzarella. I'm using mozzarella, but you can use any kind of cheese, you know. White cheese, mozzarella, what you have. You cut in this slice, you put it in the middle, and that's it. And now what we have to do, we have to make a roulade. Hold like this, from here, cheese and the chicken breast on the bottom. You go like this, and then it looks complicated, but I promise it's very, 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 very easy. Very easy. Just like that. And there you go. There your roulade is ready. Eh? And then you just do like this from one side, another side. After you roll in a plastic, you know, it's not a proper shape yet. It's not a proper shape. So I want to, it should be the proper shape. What I do, I just take aluminum foil, tin foil, whatever you have. Just like this. And now you will see the magic. Tighten up, like this. And then you do from this side and from this side. You see now it's getting its shape. Now you put it in a freezer for half an hour, 1 hour, something like this, depending on how cold is in your freezer is. You see I have done this one. And now what we're going to do, we have to coat it with a breadcrumb, white flour, and egg. So I have done already my things prepared, finished. Like I said, I organized. So make a job easier for yourself. And this white flour, I put it salt and pepper on it. Like then I don't need to use outside of the chicken. So what I do, I just first in there, I mean, depending on if your chicken breast is big, then it will become a big roll. If not, the small one doesn't matter. Don't worry about the size, you know. The main thing is that you are making, just do like this. And then we go and in eggs, just like that. And then in a breadcrumb, like both side sealed. Here you go. And then if you are doing same day is okay. If not, then you can do it like 2 days before and do it the way I'm telling you now. Here you go. You will put it there and then only in the plastic, you know, to get that breadcrumb proper inside, you know, like this. Leave it there in the fridge for a half an hour, something like this. So it will be ready to do the job. Today I want to serve with a pasta, which I use tagliatelle or fettuccine. You can call whatever you want. I have boiled it, not very soft, but you know, just as I said, always al dente, that you feel that you're eating the pasta. I boiled this pasta, is ready. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna make one white sauce or cheese sauce, which I bought from the shop, Alfredo. If you don't get Alfredo, just use any kind of white sauce. Take a pot, put some milk. You know, some people use maybe chicken stock or whatever. The powder of Alfredo sauce, cheese sauce, chicken sauce, spinach, whatever the sauce you get, this is the powder. So what I'm gonna use in the milk. That is my secret. That is your secret, which you're not gonna tell anybody. This is the secret to give this special taste, you know. Don't be afraid. You put one like this, 1.5, something, depending on how much milk you have. If it's become thick, you add more milk. If it has become thin, you add powder. If thick, you add some milk or cream. It's very simple. Don't stress, huh? It's not like a 5-star restaurant. It's your home. Just be like that. So you see now, this is the white sauce. You know, Alfredo, Italian cheese sauce. Huh? So my cheese sauce is almost done. My cooking oil is heated up. And what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna fry my pasta. With pasta, you have to use the butter and olive oil. Olive oil, you know how healthy is that. And here you go for the second portion. And that's it. But now is the time. It shouldn't be, as I said, it shouldn't be very, very, very hot. This is the ideal temperature, that one, about 110 degrees. And then you fry and you follow. Watch very carefully. If it is very hot, then it will boil it out. So, which I'm careful. As I said, at home you can do a little bit higher pot, because just in case if you're not experienced, because this is things very dangerous to play with. Now, you see all the things is done. Huh? Now I'm just gonna remove from the heat. So I'm gonna use in a deep plate. You can use flat plate or the big plate, as I showed you earlier. But I'm using, because that is a typical the pasta plate, you know, that's what I'm using. It's beautiful golden color. All right, now we put the pasta and milk. Now it's up to you. You want to like this or you want to do like this? I prefer like this. Huh? Now you will see. That's what I was looking for, you see. You have the chicken breast, you have spinach, you have cold chicken and the mozzarella. Now the chicken breast is very juicy and fully cooked. And now the presentation, you know. Voila.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. I hope you learnt a few things about the dangers of drugs and the benefits from a medicinal perspective. Join us next time on Mind, Body and Spirit when we discuss another important topic.